I'm walking around with a book of questions that people have asked me since I've been running for this position, and I thank Pam because I think she answered some of them for us, and the answers on what the duties of the position are obviously going to be the same, whichever one of us is elected to that. But obviously, I am here to ask for your support as I run for National Committee Woman, and for your vote on April 14th at the state meeting up in Meredith. One of the things that people have asked is what the National Committee Woman does, and Pam's right. It's our job to support the platform and to serve as a liaison between New Hampshire, not the New Hampshire GOP by itself, but New Hampshire Republicans like yourselves and the RNC. And the biggest thing, I really think, as we've just come through this first in the nation primary, is to protect our first in the nation primary. If we don't, it's gone, it's over. And I'm, on one level, it's a fiscal issue, because over $500 million come in to New Hampshire from this first in the nation primary. We vet these candidates for the rest of our country. And we're having fun because obviously this is a room full of political junkies, right? And we all enjoy the primary. We're helping the rest of the country. But if it's over, we're going to be watching 30-second sound bites that are coming from a larger media market than we have here in New Hampshire. You will no longer have those people standing here and talking to you. They won't be eating breakfast at the local diner. And one of the issues with that, one of the things that we have to start arguing with is, how many debates did we have? Yeah, a lot of debates, and only 2 of those were actually sanctioned by the RNC, and none of them were run by the New Hampshire GOP. In the past, we've made some money off of those. Those people, the candidates, were on TV nationwide, so they didn't have to be in your living room or in your town or here at your meeting. I think we need to work on having fewer debates and having them be sanctioned by the RNC, and having the ones in New Hampshire somehow benefit the Republican Party in this state. So that's one of the questions, and I think we're both pretty much on the same page as that one. What qualifies me has been another question people have asked. And last night I was also in Belknap at the Chinese restaurant, and they offered to feed me, but I think Kevin ate my share as well. Kevin was pretty happy with the food there. And when Alan Glassman introduced me, he said she has 40 years of political experience. And you just want to fall over until one of the people there, who was well into his 80s, said that it was okay because he had 60 years of political experience. But I did. I started out as a Goldwater girl, and it's right. Back in the days when we could pass things out and you could actually put Goldwater bumper stickers on people's car, we went up and down Main Street and did that, and it's what we did after school in junior high. Some people call serving in the Republican Party that long being part of the establishment. I call it a conservative commitment. I don't really, and I've said this before, I think, to all of you, there's some words that I think are difficult for our party. Establishment, Tea Party, Libertarian, Free Staters. One thing I think we can agree on is that we have our unifying principles, and they're freedom, limited government, less spending, lower fees, and taxes. And so when I think about those, I think I'm a Republican. I'm a committed Republican, who you may think of as establishment, but I'm a committed Republican, and I'm standing here willing to work for you in the state of New Hampshire, as I have for the last 40 years. In the past year, it was somewhat disappointing last January to lose that race, and I think it was a very difficult year for the New Hampshire GOP, and I was sorry to see that, but I did continue to stay involved, and I've been working all year, doing many of the things that I promised you I would do if I were elected party chair. And one of the things I add, I think, to the position of National Committee Woman is it makes me part of the team. It will give me a chance to work with the party chair and with the National Committee man, and to do the things that I am good at that I think will help our party. Fundraising, I've continued on fundraising for the party. I was down in Washington 2 weeks ago. I was one of the sponsors of the New Hampshire GOP capital fundraising event, and we raised $30,000 that night. We have more fundraisers planned, and I know you've heard that at some point in the summer, I guess the balance at the New Hampshire GOP was about $1,300. I'm happy to say that before this $30,000 that we've just raised, we have an actual balance of around, I think it's $65,000 to $67,000. Our debts have been cut in half because we've been working as a group to clear up some of the debts and to bring money into the Republican Party in the state that we will use to help those of you who are Republican candidates get elected and to help find new candidates to get elected so we can keep our majority in the House and fill that corner office. So that's one of the things. Pam Tucker called me and asked me if I could make calls about right to work. I called many of the reps in the North Country. I had a call from somebody in another county who asked me if I would work on voter ID, and I was in Concord with that and helping find people to testify for that. And if you live in Keene, New Hampshire with 2 colleges, voter ID is a very, very important issue, because I am pretty sure that a lot of those kids are voting the way I did and the way my son did, by absentee ballot, and then they're taking that bus that Chuck Weed ordered over to the college and being driven to the polls, and they're voting again, and that's offensive. I've also been helping with the training. I've been doing the training for the city and town committees that's moving around the state. I'm doing the fundraising and event part of that, and I've even had an opportunity to fill in for Wayne at some events because of his job with the state. He cannot do events during the day, so I don't know if any of you saw me on the CNN morning show with Soledad O'Brien, but it actually worked out all right once they finally turned the feed that was in my ear on. So I would continue doing those things, and being part of that team, this position would allow me to be more of a part of that team than I am now, just as a volunteer. So, well, they're not part of the job description. I think they add to it, and I do think they make me the better choice for this position. One of the questions I've been asked is, do I have contacts nationally? I do have contacts. The New Hampshire GOP is going to be receiving a check this month from some people from government affairs people out in Chicago and in Milwaukee who happened to see me on TV. They were in the airport that day. They called and said, "We didn't hear what you said, but what were you talking about?" And we started talking about fundraising and where New Hampshire GOP is. So there'll be money coming in from them for the good of our state and our Republicans. I look at this whole thing as, I think this is where Pam and I really differ. I look at this as a supporting role. I do not want to run for political office. I have no aspirations. I don't want to be a member of the House. I don't want to fill Tom Eaton's old Senate seat. I have no desire to do that. I'm a support person. I feel like I, for 40 years, have been working to help get people like Pam and others of you here elected. I want to continue to do that, to help find other people to run, to help find money so that you can have what you need when you're running, and to support you and to, support the laws you're proposing and support your stance and preserve our conservative principles here in this state. With that in mind, I would pledge to you that I will not serve a year and a half or 2 years of this because I need to run for another office or I want to run for a higher office. I will pledge that you would have 4 years of my undivided attention at this job. It also requires neutrality, and I think there's a question of, if you're working in the House and if you yourself may be running again for the House, how neutral can you be? And again, how neutral can you be if you're helping other people run? There may be primaries in this state, and we're going to have to be neutral on those. So you have my 4-year commitment to support our platform, to serve as a liaison for the New Hampshire GOP with the RNC, and to do my very, very best to protect our first-in-the-nation primary before we lose it, which seems to be coming, to me, it seems closer and closer, and we have to start the fight, not when the next election starts, but as soon as I'm elected, as well as doing all of the other things that I've promised for you. With that in mind, again, I ask for your support, and I particularly need your vote and need you there to vote in the North Country on April 14th. Thank you. Question that I can add to my list? Thank you very much.